This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore. Mike Pence is pulling a Dick Cheney. Mike Pence wants to be Dick Cheney. Mike Pence, who colors himself a patriot, who waves his little pocket constitution and talks about the sacredness of our founding documents, is trying to be both the vice president and second in command of the executive branch, but also separate and apart from the executive branch. He was just subpoenaed to testify before the grand jury by Jack Smith, the special counsel, in this case involving both the election fraud and also the document fiasco. And he is now refusing. Even though he once said, I'm proud to testify about this. It would be my duty and my honor to get this cleared up, and I will absolutely testify. Now he's running for the hills. Now he wants nothing to do with it, not because of patriotism, not because of some loyalty to the Constitution of the United States, but because he's running for president eventually, and he doesn't want to upset the base. The toothless, sweaty mob of MAGA supporters already hate him, but he thinks somehow he's going to be able to turn them. I'm going to read from this Politico article because this is beyond the pale. This is the same nonsense that Dick Cheney did back in like 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007. Politico, Pence to fight special counsel subpoena on Trump's 2020 election denial. The former vice president is prepared to raise a novel claim of legislative privilege to challenge a bid for his testimony in the 2021 election probe. Mike Pence is preparing to resist a grand jury subpoena for testimony about former President Donald Trump's push to overturn the 2020 election, according to two people familiar with the former vice president's thinking. Pence's decision to challenge special counsel Jack Smith's request has little to do with executive privilege, the people said. Rather, Pence is set to argue that his former role as president of the Senate, therefore a member of the legislative branch, shields him from certain Justice Department demands. This is the same thing that Dick Cheney did surrounding a number of different things. When it came time to abide by certain laws, regulations, statutory requirements for executive branch employees related to classified material, Dick Cheney said he was exempted from that because of the separation of powers clause in the Constitution, that he was not a member of the executive branch, being the vice president of the United States, but actually a member of the legislative branch. He was a member of Congress because he's ceremonially the president of the United States Senate. And in recent years, it's been more or less ceremonial because it's a 50-50 Senate. The vice president can cast a tie-breaking vote. The vice president sits in over the Senate at the dais in some ceremonial things, but he doesn't preside. That's the word I was looking for, preside. He doesn't preside normally over the Senate. To claim that the vice president of the United States of America, the vice president to the president, is not a member of the executive branch is laughable. I'm going to continue with this article. Pence's allies say he is covered by the constitutional provision that protects congressional offices from legal proceedings related to their work, language known as the speech or debate clause. The clause, Pence allies say, legally binds federal prosecutors from compelling Pence to testify about the central components of Smith's investigation. If Pence testifies, they say, it could jeopardize the separation of powers that the Constitution seeks to safeguard. They're trying to assert that when our founders wrote the Constitution and set up our government, that they believed that the person at the time, the man who would be vice president of the United States, wouldn't be a member of the executive branch, but is solely a legislator. It is so ridiculous. It is vomit inducing. One more paragraph here. Quote, He thinks that the speech or debate clause is a core protection for Article 1 for the legislature, said one of the two people familiar with Pence's thinking, who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss his legal strategy. Quote, he feels it really goes to the heart of some separation of powers issues. He feels duty-bound to maintain that protection, even if it means litigating it. Oh, Mike Pence, you brave, brave man, standing for the integrity of the Constitution of these United States. Thank you, sir. Thank you. We wouldn't want the separation of powers clause to be chipped away at by a rogue Department of Justice. So you want executive privilege when it suits you, and you want a speech and debate clause, separation of power argument to shield you when it suits you. This is an egregious power grab. Ex post facto, it's after the fact. These people are shameless, liars and cowards who have no fealty to the Constitution that they claim they do. It is a laughable premise, and to follow in the footsteps of Dick Cheney as your role model is just, come on. Anyway, I will link to the full article in the description if you want to read it. It is something to behold. What do you think? I'd love to know. We can mix it up in the comments as we always do. You can also call and leave me a voicemail, 714-576-4054. And of course, you can absolutely always email me daily at dollemore.com. Follow me on the social media. I am at Dollemore. And if you appreciate what I do, if I do something for you that brings value to your day or to your week, please consider joining the YouTube channel membership team, helping produce what I do for $2 a month. You can click the join button below and see what's involved and become a channel member. Or you can go over to patreon.com/IDoubtIt podcast. I'll see you next time. I love you guys. I appreciate you very much. Be genuine. Take care of one another.